Israel currently ranks as the 8th most powerful nation in the world, a technological powerhouse that serves as a critical supplier to the planet's largest superpowers. This stands in stark contrast to its founding in 1948. Back then, the nation faced extreme poverty, had no oil reserves, and was forced to ration water to just 10 liters per person a day, while relying on surplus weapons from the Stalin era. The situation became existential almost immediately. Just one day after declaring independence, 5 neighboring nations launched a simultaneous military invasion. At the time, the international community assumed Israel would be wiped off the map. Without military hardware or geographic barriers, they appeared to have zero leverage to survive. How did a nation with no natural advantages transform itself into a global tech leader that the world's most powerful empires now rely on? When you are outgunned, you cannot win through brute force. Survival requires shifting the battlefield toward asymmetric psychological tactics. In 1948, Israeli forces dropped ordinary glass seltzer bottles from planes over enemy positions. As they fell, the high-pitched whistling mimicked falling bombs, terrifying the uncoordinated invading armies into a panicked retreat. They followed this with the Devika mortar. It was largely ineffective as a weapon, but it produced an explosion so deafening that it tricked enemies into believing Israel had developed atomic technology. By 1967, this psychological defense evolved into preemptive intelligence. Israel destroyed the Egyptian Air Force on the tarmac while the pilots were eating breakfast. To maintain this edge, Mossad operative Eli Cohen infiltrated the Syrian government so effectively he was nearly appointed deputy defense minister. Cohen famously convinced the Syrian military to plant eucalyptus trees over their bunkers, ostensibly to provide shade and comfort for their soldiers in the heat. In reality, those trees served as perfect targeting markers for the Israeli military to identify and destroy every hidden Syrian outpost. Israel avoided early military collapse not through superior firepower, but by weaponizing intelligence, their first successful attempt at creating national leverage. While Israel received significant foreign aid, money alone does not build a superpower, a fact evidenced by the economic stagnation of other highly aided nations. Israel's strategy was to invest that capital into human capital, enforcing an education system that prioritized real-world problem-solving over simple rote memorization. This diagram compares traditional flood irrigation to the drip irrigation method invented by Simcha Blas. By viewing water scarcity as an engineering challenge, Israel reduced water usage by 60% while building a multi-billion-dollar global industry. This mindset produced a string of exports born from existential threats, from the pill cam for internal diagnostics to the Iron Dome for intercepting incoming rockets. By treating its citizens as problem-solving assets, Israel turned its geographic and military vulnerabilities into the world's most profitable exports. In the 1990s, the collapse of the Soviet Union brought 1 million scientists and engineers to Israel, creating a massive influx of world-class talent. Despite this brain trust, global investors were hesitant to put capital into a volatile war zone. This split illustrates the 1993 Yozma Fund. To attract foreign wealth, the government offered to cover 40% of the funding for any new Israeli startup. If a startup failed, the government would absorb the loss alongside the investor. But if the company succeeded, investors could buy out the state's share at the original low starting price, keeping all the resulting profits for themselves. This financial structure drew in the world's elite venture capitalists, who funded over 160 startups and established the foundation for Israel's modern tech economy. By removing the risk for global capital, Israel forced the world's financial elite to build the nation's tech ecosystem. The ultimate result of this leverage is seen in companies like Mobileye, which Intel bought for over $15 billion. Lesson 1 is that geopolitics respects power, not friendship. A nation must cultivate its own internal strength before it can expect the world's protection. Lesson 2 is that a large population is only a burden without human capital. Deep investment in problem-solving education is the only way to turn people into a strategic asset. Finally, a service economy provides no leverage.
Real power comes from owning the proprietary technologies that the rest of the world increasingly relies on to operate. Israel didn't just aim for self-reliance, they built a system making global superpowers reliant on them. That is the ultimate playbook for geopolitical survival.